Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another weird game dev video. I know, it's been 7 months? Good heavens! Of course, there are the usual excuses like school, mental health, yada yada, but who cares, I'm back anyway, lamo. As always, you can find the Discord server in the description, which is the easiest way to reach me, and I'd really appreciate any suggestions about anything. So, on to the things that have changed. Turns out I've been lazy and not done much. Firstly, a bunch of tiles now have functionality. That includes the mine, the blast furnace, the warehouse, and the new forestry and capsule tiles. With the mine tile, you can see the mineral content of the selected tile in the top right, along with some other debug information like the coordinates. When you place a mine on a tile, it gives you the amount of resources shown every 150 ticks. If we look at the code, oh no, what on earth happened here? I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Next up we have the blast furnace, which is simple. It takes one random ore or sand, and it smelts it using one log every 128 ticks. Then we have the forestry, which is a bit special because it's the only tile that actually manipulates its environment. Every 64 ticks, it picks a random tile in a 5x5 area, and if it can plant a tree there, so it doesn't already have something there, and it's the right colour, it plants it. Then, it picks another random spot, and if it's a tree, it cuts it down. I also added a capsule, which is supposed to be the first tile you place down, and can house 2 people with limited food and water reserves, just for getting started. The last new tile is the warehouse, which is very simple as it just increases the storage of each material. I also added a few quality of life improvements, like the resources now have icons rather than names, except they don't because I'm lazy and bad at making textures, and also if you right click an action in the menu, it will automatically apply that to every tile you click on until escape is pressed. Now we get to the problems and my plans. There are 4 main issues right now: rendering, factions and multiplayer, world gen, and the dreaded road tile. The issue with rendering is that it's not very efficient. On the planet's surface I'm only getting a few hundred FPS, but that could develop into quite a problem on older hardware or with more visual complexity. So I have a possible solution. I could rewrite the whole rendering engine using pure OpenGL and use shaders to decrease the CPU load. The issue with this is that not only is it a whole lot of work, but it would also require at least OpenGL 3.3, which is a problem on older hardware, so I would have to somehow keep both renderers and switch between them at runtime. This is a fairly long-term plan though, just due to the sheer amount of work it would take. Factions and multiplayer don't really have any issues per se, but I'm just not really sure how they should work, so I'd be really interested to see what you think would be good regarding multiplayer interaction. World gen has been an issue for a while. I've just tried to ignore it so far. The issue is that the generation is all done backwards. The colours are calculated first, and the height map and the tile types are decided afterwards. This can sometimes lead to some really awkward terrain, so I've decided to go for Operation Make World Gen Great Again, but, at the risk of repeating myself far too much, I would like suggestions. Anything from like how the code should work, to just a rough idea of what would look good. And the 4th and final issue is the biggest yet: road tiles. I wanted to add roads to the game to give people an incentive to lay out their planets better, as before people and resources could be transported over the whole surface with no effort. However, it turns out implementing them is a complete pain in the arse. The problem is with the way that I implemented resources. There's no real path from one tile to another that people, materials, food or water actually go along. It's basically just a big counter, which means that if I was to implement roads in their current state, all of the roads would have to be connected together. You couldn't have 2 separate networks. There are several issues with this, not least that it turns out to be incredibly difficult to check if all of the roads are connected or not. So, I have 2 main options. Completely redo the resources system to allow things like roads to be properly implemented, or keep it as the current system, but without any kind of intraplanetary transport. Is that even a word? Basically just transport within one planet. Which, of course, is easier, but it sounds a bit boring, I don't know. As usual, I'm really not doing very well with textures, so if you're good at pixel art and want to help, that would be very much appreciated. Anyway, that's all for now. Hopefully I'll do some cool shit later, and bye!